You look very good, very nice professional.
Well, we didn't want to let anybody down and, dress in our normal burlap, so we're okay. It's all good. Oh, my.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. I do want to welcome everyone, and just some quick reminders. We are asking all of our participants to please keep your microphones muted throughout today's presentation. However, please feel free to ask any questions throughout, and especially towards the end with our Q&A portion. We do want today to be interactive, so please feel free to do so. However, if you have any technical questions, please direct them to myself, Jessica Young, or my colleague, Crystal Anderson, and we'll assist you as quickly as possible. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our presenters. Thank you so much.
Well, hello, everyone, and we are very grateful to be here today with you to discuss legal workflow automation and introduction. My name is Danny Manoff, and I am the CEO of Intrepid Paralegal Solutions, LLC. Next to me is Rock Tobesman, our National Director of Paralegal Services. If you're not familiar with Intrepid Paralegal, we are a company that's innovating the virtual frontier. We provide our services through an internet environment, virtual entirely, using cloud-based technology that we'll talk a little bit about today. And we support the legal environment, whether it is attorneys, pro se litigants, or legal investigations, mediation, things of that manner. But allow us to get started. I just introduced this fine-looking gentleman next to me who has a few years' experience, don't you?
Oh, quite a few years.
Quite a few years. And one of the things that a lot of folks point out to us when we start talking about automation is concerns about how to go about it, how to not feel that it's going to replace them. And I think one of the first things that we'd like to stress as we begin this workshop today is that automation is anything but a replacement for people. We're in the business of people. And the work that we do helps people understand a complex and many times scary subject matter. And the automation process, the workflow automation process, is simply designed and should be designed to remove those tasks that are subject to error, redundant, potentially not as efficient as they can be. And we'll talk more about that. But above all of that, workflow automation should make the client experience extraordinary. It should be an improvement to help them feel well cared for, which is an issue that all of us would like to see our clients experience. But I don't want to take away from where we're going with this. We are going to cover some topics you'll see in your presentation. We're going to talk about current firm workflow assessment to uncover inefficiencies. We ask that it be an interactive session. If you have questions, you can speak them. Just unmute yourself, ask the question, and we will address it. How to enhance and revise or continue to revise new processes, and then all types of question and answers that will come from that. So the first, I'm sorry, I'm going back. You want to see that?
No.
Okay.
We're fine.
Okay.
How many hours do you think it takes a lawyer or a solo practice or a small firm to spend each day on billable hours to make the practice profitable?
And that's open to the floor. How many hours do you think they spend on billable work every day in an attorney firm? I'll take an answer from anybody that has an idea on that one or experience.
Oh my goodness, I'm hearing crickets.
Crickets, no volunteers. Does anybody work with attorneys where
there's 3 in the chat that somebody just posted? Looks like Jor posted 3 hours in the chat.
3 hours in the chat? Okay. Well,
That's close.
It's close. It's actually
That's very close.
2.5 hours. 2.5 hours out of a workday spent on billable time. Does that drive revenue to the point where counsel feels good about the net? And particularly, and I'm going to insert it here, when we all know that as legal professionals, we spend a tremendous amount of time in the process of being legal professionals and doing the work. So revenue-driven activities are important, but it's also important, as you see on your screen, to have a work-life balance. So we have non-billable hours, we have administrative tasks, and that's where legal automation starts to make a big difference in this balance. And I think everyone would agree that having more opportunity to do the things that you need to do for yourself personally to recharge is a vital element in being able to do your very best work.
Yeah, there is life outside of the office and the courthouse.
So we want to examine some things. We want to talk to you a little bit about how to uncover where your practice might be underperforming. You'll hear us refer to this as leaks, wastes, and inefficiencies that are occurring in your practice. Where are the unnecessary costs in your practice? Are there leaks going on around non-billable opportunities that are non-billable responsibilities you have to deal with that are problematic? It's costly to execute those tasks that we have to execute administratively, yet automation can help us reduce those costs and have them move out of the category of unnecessary costs by eliminating that leak. And number three, what is getting in the way of billable work? What's happening every day that's stopping billable work? I want to share a funny anecdote with you at this time. As a paralegal, one of the things that I see a lot in our firm and in the industry is a lack of training and development for paralegals. We work closely with a group called Limitless Paralegals, where training and development is the keynote of what is done. So training's not popular. If we come to a attorney and say, we'd like to talk to you about automation in the workplace, I think the attorney might like to talk about something else. That's a tough sell. It's kind of like what you see on the bottom of your screen, French fries versus a salad. Most of us enjoy French fries, but eating a salad's healthy, and training and development and workflow management is eating a salad. If you do it, you're healthy, and if you don't eat French fries, you're not. And so your practice deserves to be healthy for all the reasons we've outlined so far. We think it's important. Any questions at this juncture? Yeah. I'm sorry. No? Okay. You were going to say something.
Yeah, it's very important to realize that everybody wants to put forth their best efforts. A lot of experience we have is people don't know what is the best. Recently, we had an attorney call us up, and they wanted us to help them do some of their paralegal work. Asked us how long would it take to prepare a pleading and some interrogatories, and we told them we can get it done probably within 24 to 48 hours. The attorney turned around and says it takes my office a week to do that. It's a matter of knowing what buttons to push and how to take and cut away the fat, the waste. And it's not the French fries that are unhealthy, it's the ketchup.
Pardon me for a moment. Okay. So we are enterprise partners with Clio. For those of you that have not heard of a firm named Clio, this firm provides a client relationship management suite that not only integrates in this first area you see here with the grow intake and marketing, and we'll talk more in a moment about the lead conversion element, but they also streamline the payment and the management of a matter once it's in the practice. Now, we're going to go through a few steps in this chart that the folks at Clio are nice enough to allow us to use, where a practice might implement an automation process. Today's practice has to be concerned with how the public finds them. And if a client has a problem, prospective client has a problem finding you, obviously that's an issue, and it's dealt with by an element of the managed suites known as Grow. The awareness of who you are and what you do is a marketing function in the automation process. You have to identify to the marketplace in a way that is in line with their need and also educational, in our opinion. The intake process, once you're found, is their consideration of you and also your consideration of them. And then some type of a decision or choice is made where it becomes no longer a lead, but a conversion to a client. Let me take a moment and talk a little bit about, in our firm, how this works We think that it's pretty good, and we feel that most folks that have seen it like it, that have implemented similar structure. The Grow product stands on its own. It is a product that is tracking all of these metrics as they occur and giving you a good idea as to what hours you're spending in a day developing client relationship through your marketing intake and lead conversion elements. It is very well organized. You'll have a chance later on in the presentation to see how it works. And it is seamless with these two elements we'll talk about next. An engagement letter is sent out, or the client agrees to the terms of service at this point once these elements have taken place. Interestingly enough, we found out in our studies that most people turn away from doing business with a firm because of problems with intake. And here are some of the things we've heard where automation in the workplace would make a difference. First thing we heard is it's difficult to reach them. The second thing we heard is I'm not getting a call back after 5 days, 7 days, 9 days. And guess what happens? They find somebody else or they go in a different direction. Those are the two big ones. And then being confused about what it is that this particular practice could do to help them with their problem. So the Grow module solves that. It integrates with your website, and it works in concert with those tools to help the client have a seamless experience of coming to a place where they can become a client comfortably and can feel the confidence they need in order to do that. Then the Clio Managed system is engaged. Now, the Clio Managed system is where all the casework is done and documented. We call it the virtual workbench at our firm. It's a proprietary tool that we've put together. You have authorship as a owner of Clio and a user of Clio to design your system to fit your particular practice. And I want to stop for a moment on this because today's technology and law office automation doesn't need to scare off any practice from going forward when you have authorship on how you design this tool to meet the needs of your practice. Your practice is different than the next person's practice, and therefore that authorship is primary. And I want to state that because I think it's really, really important in your branding and in the things that you want to do as a provider of legal services. So now the case begins. Documentation is everything. From a paralegal standpoint, we are over the top on documentation. We need the documentation. We know that documentation is going to be vital at some point in the case management's element, and therefore the system must be focused on getting the details and having them usable and recoverable at any time while the paralegal is multitasking and other staff members might be involved as well.
It's not only the documentation, there's also documentation of all communications, whether it's telephone calls, text messages, emails, and Dan will talk about the client in a few moments. But this is like a whole law office right on your computer screen.
And it's on the cloud. And for any of the practitioners that are listening, thinking, oh no, not the cloud. Okay, I want you to know the cloud is okay. The cloud is safe. All right? The cloud will not hurt you. Back in the day, because I'm not a 25-year-old fella, I had a NOC, Net Operations Center, and I thought I was safe. The cloud is many times safer than a NOC. And the cloud is run in such a way by the folks at Clio that the client experience is seamless. The uptime is amazing. I'm not trying to jinx us, but we haven't had any real downtime. There may be system enhancements that go on like most programs, but there's no downtime going on. Back to this program, you heard my colleague talk to you about what it manages and what it keeps at the fingertips of the staff and counsel. Many programs exist out there, but the issue is how many were designed with the idea of a client experience in mind, or a defined with the idea that, oh, it'll do this function. This program, start to finish, was designed with the client experience in mind, and that's huge. And the feedback we're getting from our clients is you're responsive, this is great, it's easy to work with you, and those are the things that we want our clients to say. I think we'd all agree that when we talk about automating the process of workflow management, it should be easy for the folks that have to interact with it. And here's a bonus. it should be easy for us as folks that are interacting with it as professionals in the field. Clio has covered both of those. Now, the portal. The portal is part of the casework that goes on where documents and billing and whatever can happen there in the portal. The client is acclimated to their own portal. They're able to share to it at any time, review work that's been done at any time. It's very transparent, which clients indicate is a big part of what they want also, to feel like they're participating in the process. They have some say. The Clio payments technology is really cool. I have no other word to describe it. It has made my life so much simpler because it has integrated every single element of the client payment process and interfaced it seamlessly with our accounting system. And what that's done for us as a small company is given us a real-time accounting of where we are at any time. And that's huge. When you talk about automation, council can always appreciate where are we in our capital position, where are we in our expenses. And so this element here, Clio Payments, integrates in that process and keeps you up on your billing. Clients understand where they are, and it's user-friendly with the clients. This is another step in the automation process when we get to the billing element that makes it easier. Now, I'm going to ask, is there anyone out there in the field that's ever had problems with billing? This is where I take my pen and I wait because I know there's been a few. Please tell me about it. I see smiles, Bree. You've had a few, huh? Listen, I'll save you. I'll save you the trouble. The trouble is this: folks get confused with billing. It doesn't matter how well it's done. People are busy. I mean, think about your life and what you're doing every day, whether it's the kids or the car broke down. I got to get to the store. Oh my gosh, we don't have any groceries. You know, there's all this stuff happening. It's the same for your clients. It's the same for counsel. Well, guess what? When we have a well-defined billing structure, recallable in a moment, shareable through a portal or other means, the client feels reassured and has the answer they need around an important subject matter, which is billing. Now, I learned in the use of Clio some new terminology. And one of the new terminologies I learned, I'm leaning forward here, is net promotion score. A net promotion score. And that's this right here: reviews and net promotion score. These are metrics used to help promote your firm. If anyone here is in a practice, law practice, and is not getting Google reviews, Yelp reviews, some type of reviews, you're missing the boat. The automation process is designed, and the Clio programs are designed to help the client come to a point where they can have right in front of them, and this is how we do it, a clickable link where they can share how they feel about the experience they've had. This is vital. This has become social capital in the world of online business, because if a client is searching for help and they don't see reviews next to your firm, you could be doing an extraordinary job, and the first conclusion they come to is, oh, that's not the person I want to use. I don't want to work with that firm, sadly. And I have to tell you, when you are looking for, and I don't care for this word here, everybody, referral, I call it a recommendation. We recommend doctors and lawyers, you know, we refer roofers and other people. I would say this: a recommendation is strong when there's a review to back it up. When the client has taken a stand saying, you know what, I was treated in an excellent fashion, and I would highly recommend you use these people. That helps your next client feel secure in doing business with you. Do we have any questions on that process as we talk about reviews and recommendations? Please remember that at any time if you have a question, you can certainly unmute and ask. We press on. So really, the objective in legal workplace automation is to increase revenue while taking the time you spend on non-billable tasks and reducing it using a cloud-based technology, a mix of that technology. But we have to do what I like to call priority planning, what really matters. So we look at higher levels of client acquisition, say, well, what are they doing differently? That's the first thing. And how can we eliminate that wasted time and resources? And then again, those leaks and waste and inefficiencies, what are the issues? Breakdowns, what's happening? Now, for the attorneys that are here today with us, and we thank you for being here, these things will really resonate. And we want to share with you that your staff plays a vital role in making sure that we succeed in an effective workplace automation approach. First, we're going to identify the major points in a client-centered experience. Now, that may be new sounding words for you to hear, a client-centered experience. What does that mean? Someone comes to your firm because they have a contract dispute. How would you create a client-centered experience? Those two seem almost a little bit exclusive. But the client-centered experience has to do with everything they touch, feel, and hear. Everything they touch, feel, and hear with your firm is part of their experience. The things that are said are of huge importance. I want to let you know at Intrepid Paralegal Solutions, our team is empathetic, passionate, and lets the client know that they matter from the beginning. And the human element is vital here. We have to talk about that as part of the major points. And the limitations and challenges. Well, listen, I'll be blunt, trying to hire the right people. It's very difficult trying to hire the right people. And Intrepid enjoys the fact that we have the team on standby. So if someone needs help, come see us. We're happy to help. We're happy to help your practice. Why would you lose a potential client? That's one of the worst things that can happen. And predominantly it happens because of their experience. Folks don't tend to walk away from receiving help in legal matters unless they feel mistreated. That's really the bottom line, because the urgency of the matter resonates for them, that they get with a person they feel comfortable with and they go forward. We just had a client, side note, engage an attorney in her matter, outside attorney, not one of the attorneys associated with our firm. And she told that attorney, when he asked, what's going on with Intrepid Paralegal, she shared, I trust them, they're responsive, and I'd like for you to use them. He doesn't have a paralegal, so she is a fan of ours, and she told him because they're organized and responsive. And that's a great feeling when your clients are doing that for you. We want to see that happen for the attorneys we work with, that their next client comes because their last client was a raging fan of theirs. That happens with workplace automation. So let's look at an intake example. How do they get to you? Well, the first thing that happens is they may reach out to the firm via a website. Today, most attorneys and most law firms have a website. Candidly, and not trying to be a funny guy, a lot of them are scary. I think the time you would spend on a website is well invested. I feel like we visit our website from an enhancement and change element more now than we ever did before, and we're getting ready to make additional enhancements. The website's key. That's where everybody does it. And they do it on a smartphone. They're not sitting at a PC or in front of a laptop. They're on the go. Remember, those same people have things to do in their busy lives. Lawyer then emails the lead back in a small firm. Remember, we're talking about 1 to 3 practitioners typically. So they're going to email them back, or they're going to have a staff person do it. And they're going to ask for a time for a phone call. Then a phone call is going to occur. So it's organized. Then there's some administration that takes place. Then an engagement letter goes out. They decide to hire the firm. Lead prints and signs the engagement letter, and then the engagement letter is mailed back to the firm, emailed back to the firm. This is generally the process. Unfortunately, there's some tension in these two areas between the administration and the profit making in the firm. What can we do better? What can improve? When we talk about automating the environment of legal work, we have to pay attention to reducing error. We have to pay attention to, again, redundant tasks. They're not billable. French fries versus the salad. We have to approach the task in a way that is easy to disseminate and understand by the staff. And that's one of the things that Clio does so very well. So let's talk about how to get started in the automation process. To all the attorneys listening today, you must interview your team members and you must articulate your workflow. And that means stopping that crazy busy schedule you have, sitting your team down and saying, listen, these are the things that we do well. These are the things we need to do better. Here's where we start. This is what I want to see happen first, then this. So you're actually charting the flow of work. This is the second step after you articulate it and your team gives you some feedback. I promise every attorney who's listening that if you listen to your staff and they're candid with you and transparent, you're going to hear where there's some problems you weren't aware of. You're going to hear where there's some opportunities to improve things dramatically. There's going to be a better client-centered experience. And then you're going to chart it. Actually make a visual chart of this workflow process. And once we have that, then we can automate it. Let's get started on looking on how that occurs. Oh, pardon me.
There's a tool that is used. Most people have heard about scouting. One of the things scouting teaches to young people is the ability to look for options. And there's a process they have, which is called roses, thorns, and buds. This is something that can be easily adapted to any situation. Roses are things that are going well, and it's important for your staff to know what they are doing well. Thorns are the things that don't work so well, that make people unhappy. You need to put them on the table. And the buds is what can we do to change that? What can we do to make our options more effective? And that's what this whole process is. And maybe I'm a little bit simplifying it, but I'm one of them older guys. I'm one of those guys that we had to have 1,000 cards to go through a computer, and I'll leave it at that.
We're talking carbon paper, everybody. You know what I mean? Carbon paper.
I actually have some of that.
I know. So the first step is we have to interview everybody. That's really important. Any of the stakeholders involved in the practice must be interviewed. At Intrepid, we have regular virtual coffee and donuts, and we hear from our people in that environment and through other communication channels where we can make improvements. And all of the improvements most all of the improvements come from your people. They're on the front line. They're the ones that greet your new clients. They're the ones that make the work product happen. They're the ones that use whatever tools are present. So that's how we're going to develop this. But you're the biggest part, counselor. It's you. Not only you a significant player in this, but without your direction, it can't happen. It won't happen correctly. Now, let's document the steps of the process in any way you can. Write a narrative. The best legal automation that we've been a part of has come as a result of taking the time to sit down and actually write out the process. What we do, how we do it, why we do it, what tools we use to do it. And you find the leaks, waste, and inefficiencies when you write the narrative. That list, if you will, that comes from that is vital in the automation process because now you have the core of those non-billable activities that we can make more efficient. And that's just one area we're focusing on. Then that flow chart helps us create a visual prompt for folks to see what's happening. So let's take it apart. How does a potential new client reach your firm? Well, first they can call you on the phone. Rock and I make jokes all the time that nowadays folks send a text to get the phone, right? But folks still use the phone. They will call, a direct call. At Intrepid, we utilize Answer Legal. You may decide you want to do that. Route it to the CRM from a call center, and then a call to the customer service center occurs. Live voices are the key here, okay? No one wants to leave a message. That is so bad. Folks tell us, I don't want to leave a message. I want to talk to a live person. I respect that, okay? Now, by email, could be direct to a team member, could be to a designated information channel, doesn't matter. Emails are effective as well as your staff has the ability to answer them and give the information that's needed to develop the relationship. And then lastly, a website. The website is effective, and we want to see folks pay attention to the website as integral part of, I call it Epic Center to the automation process. Clio Manage and Grow are great, but without a sound capture element, an informational element, an educational element in a website, it's almost pointless. Do we have any questions at this point? Are we good?
Well, website is something that's very, very crucial. And not only are we looking at the positive sides, but there's some sides of it that aren't so good. A lot of attorneys, when they develop their websites appeal to attorneys, but not the people that are seeing it. And they get lost in all of the legalisms and all the jargon and all that we use. They need to see the lawyer as a human person, somebody they could talk to, somebody they can communicate with. And a lot of clients are intimidated by lawyers. You put a JD at the end of the name, and they think you can't talk to them. They need to know through that website that the office is a place that is going to listen, that is going to respond, that will give them options on how to proceed in their given matters.
I had a client recently share the following experience. It's hard to even believe, but this is what they said. I'm petrified of speaking in front of people. I said, okay, I understand that, right? And there's ways that you can deal with that, because they had to do some speaking in front of a group of people. They said, I really don't want to do it. I'd much rather have somebody speak to me. I said, including a eulogy? And they said, yes, including a eulogy. I'm that frightened. Then I asked a question about the law, and they said, I'm almost as frightened about talking with an attorney, even if it's to help me or you as a paralegal. And I thought, man, this is deep. It was a real check for me to realize that that client-centered experience, as you develop the workflow automation process, is critical for that client to say, I'm comfortable. Our people tell us on a regular basis, and it's cool to see in Clio. Counselor, if you're any attorney listening, you can see how the process is working with clients. It's wonderful to see the positive interaction between clients and our people as part of the automation process on the cloud with Clio. The client feels safe, they feel trusting, they feel they're task oriented, and they're going to get this thing done, and they're right in the process with us, sleeves rolled up, getting it done. And that's very, very key. Let's talk for a moment about what happens on a direct contact. About 90%, I just saw the statistic from our friends at Answer Legal, about 90% of the calls made right now go to, kid you not, an answering machine after hours. And sometimes during hours. We're all busy right now, leave a message, etc. So this is not the warmest intake that's client-centered, is it? This is kind of a drop-in line kind of thing. And we want to begin to qualify our ability to handle the case, the human element, that thing we keep talking about. And then speak with a specialist, somebody who is knowledgeable, who speaks well, who's informed, who's empathetic. This is a tall order, isn't it? I got to tell you, and this would be my commercial for Answer Legal, we are overwhelmingly pleased with how they deal with this element in our process of automation and the way they deal as specialists. They have the skills and the ability to further automate this process. A investment in having your phones answered professionally is brilliant. I want to say that right now. Our staff encouraged me to do it, and I was resistant because it looked like another bill, another cost. It's been amazing in our automation process. Any thoughts there?
You said it all.
Okay. Proceed with a coordinator at this point. The intake has to be coordinated. The person has to know that there is a process they're going through and that they can perform in that process. If they can't, then they're disillusioned with the whole thing and they want to withdraw and they don't become clients.
The client needs to feel that they are the center of everything that's going on. They want to know that whatever they're talking about is the most important thing. They don't care how many other people you've spoken to. I was telling Dan earlier today, it's like the young man that goes to the military academy and he learns everything and he's on his way home to see his family. He's got a chest full of medals and recognitions, and he goes through this one country town. And every tree he passes, there's a bullseye. And in the middle of that bullseye, he sees somebody was able to shoot his rifle and get it right in the middle every single time. He says, I have to meet this person. Any person that can hit the bullseye all the time has to be an exceptional person. And a little boy comes up and says, you really don't want to meet him. He says, no, anybody that can be perfect and hit it all the time is an exceptional person. The little boy says, "You don't understand." And the young man who is so impressed says, "No, I have to meet him. I don't care how eccentric he is." He says, "Well, you have to understand. Freddie takes and shoots the gun first. He draws the bullseye around it." That's what we're doing. The client calls and we're developing a process to help them through their particular matter. We're helping them to develop options, ideas, and it's easier for them to talk to members of the legal community because then they feel more comfortable with themselves.
Legal process management is important because the nature and the scope of problems that people bring to the table is wide and varied, and we have to be prepared to deal with them. So Rock makes a good point there. Let's talk about that call center approach, like Answer Legal. So what if they call in a call center? Their schedules this call, intake specialist gets the call, that's a live person. And this is the part that is so beautiful about automation here, workflow automation. Right then and there, when that person finishes with that live contact, we are alerted into the Clio Grow program right then and there, real time. And an email is sent out to all stakeholders at the same time, letting us know, hey, you have a new client that just indicated interest, and they were left with the following statement: you'll be receiving a call soon. Guess what happens when they receive the call soon and we know the scope of the problem because they've described it, we know what's going on, they feel cared for, right? That's a client-centered experience. It's automated. So the call center not only schedules consultation, but you may even begin to do what's known as an automated drip campaign if you can't get an appointment, where that particular person is aware of your services and that you don't just fade into the background. We haven't done that yet, but those that do are very, very pleased with the results. How about an email or using the website? So if they email or enter the website via a contact us element or tab on the website, here's what happens. Now a team member is going to have to add it to the CRM, being Grow, Clio Grow in our case, and then they have to contact the person back. Team member will also schedule a call with an intake specialist. So this person acts as a coordinator, if you will, a front office person. And then the team schedules a time to review the matter. That's what happens when you use a website approach or an email approach. So let's look at some inconsistent processes here. First of all, each team member might be doing things differently. In the absence of a well-defined workflow automation management process with what I like to call priority-based planning and development metrics, things will be done differently by different people. And that's problematic because that means that the client experience isn't consistent. Consistency in client experience is huge. Let's talk about a couple firms that have defined that for us. Is Starbucks a success? And if so, why? Because they're consistent. They have a process that's consistent. There's not one Starbucks you can go to where they throw you off with what the experience is. You know what to expect when you walk in there. You know what to order, and they get it done. They're consistent. It should be the same in our field. And coffee is always good, but just the process should be consistent.
Is that like Chick-fil-A where the cows are getting together to protest you shouldn't eat more chicken?
Right. There's another process management firm that does it and has shown the success of being consistent. How come? Well, we have to identify the best part of each method by each of the team members. We took 3 here. We all have a task we're trying to do. How are they approaching that task to get it from what it is to done? This is where there are non-billable hours, making it so there's only 2.5 hours a day of billable time. This is it right here. Once we've identified in the inconsistent processes which one is best, I have to ask every attorney, supervisory attorney listening to this presentation to please hear me. It's free. This is free. Make the team feel appreciated. Make them understand that you value them. It will go far past any raise you could give them. It'll go far past anything else if they know they're really valued, that they really make a difference in what you're doing. It's not just a job. We're on a mission together. We're trying to help people get out of troubling situations. You play a vital role. That's a big deal. So speaking it is huge. Now I make a joke. I got taught this through the workplace automation process, that speaking gratitude is huge. This industry taught me. Anyone listening, have you ever tried to get something done at the courthouse and gone in and been rude? If you have, that's a bad approach. But if you say to the people that are inundated there, hey, I really appreciate what you do every day, it's amazing how quickly you get done what you need to do. And it costs nothing. So we identify the task, the best flow, what method works the best. We complete tasks in a more efficient manner, and we have now recaptured a leak. We've recaptured waste, and we can now reposition that revenue and that effort in an area that will drive profit. And that's key in this whole process.
And feedback is something that's invaluable. It's probably the most precious investment you can make in your people. Feedback doesn't cost anything, and yet to the person receiving it, it is worth gold. It makes them want to try harder. It wants them to endeavor to improve, to make the business grow.
If you want to have that work-life balance as a firm owner, as a supervisory attorney, then you will invest all of your effort that you can in making sure your people know how much you appreciate them. You will invest all of your hearing space you can muster when they tell you they have a problem. And you will let them know that they're a vital component in what you do. I want to stress that in the automation process. Remember, we started by saying it's about people. We serve people. We don't serve. The revenue is a function that we have to have. When we serve people better, including our staff, there's more revenue. On the screen, step 2, you see how to organize and chart the workflow. And these are some of the resources that you can avail yourself of. Google has free workflow charts you can use. So does Canva. And we put these links here for those of you that would like to copy those or make use of them. And some of the other apps that are out there that work pretty well is Lucidchart, Creately, SmartDraw, if you don't have a program to chart out the flow. But it's critical to chart the flow, and that's why we're sharing these resources. Now let's talk about what goes on now once you start to get your automation program in place, okay? Let's start with they contact you through the website, because you've heard us talk a lot about that. The website automatically adds the potential new client to the Clio Grow inbox. Now, the paralegal is either going to review details and put them in a drip campaign because they got no response, or they're going to say, yes, I want to get started. They go to a consult, cancel any email or marketing may be done. After the consult is done, they're a client. So it's streamlined. Email, paralegal adds them, the potential new client to grow, could be automated with Zapier. And then we go to this process here. They don't respond, there's no response, it's done. If they do respond, we go to this status, they become a client. Let's talk about phone. What we might call old school nowadays, right? Calling somebody on a phone. Sidebar, phone approach to our business comprises the smallest element of new business that we have. Our clients are using the internet, and our statistics show that most of them are using smartphones. Listen to this statistic, I just looked at it. 92% of our new client intake is done via smartphone. Folks are on that smartphone a lot, just FYI. This wouldn't be, in my mind, a full presentation. We didn't talk about AI, okay? AI is not going to put you out of business. We feel certain about that. Human beings still play a role in the legal field. We mentioned here Smith AI could schedule a pay consult or take a message. AI is a part of the field that we're working in. It's going to be used in legal automation. It is being used in legal automation. If you are a user of Casetext, you know about how they've been using AI for years.
Or
AI,
LexisNexis.
any of them. AI is here. It's used intelligently to streamline the processes and increase profitability. It is not a threat. This is what happens. It either allows the lead to go to the inbox and then this process completes, or there's a scheduled consult right here and this process completes. If the person decides they don't want to do business, that potential new client, That's fine. They may go into a marketing queue, whatever. But the AI is just a tool that's going to bring them through the process by giving them options. We're looking at in our automation process using a bot that can be there when we're not necessarily available or completely able to address the client in the way we'd like, that would keep them facilitated. The tools of AI are good. Our assessment at this point is how you use them is what matters. Any questions before we leave this screen? Okay. So let's look at this now. With automated emails, what goes on? Client consultation occurs. They're not sure. I don't know if I want to get started right now. I don't know. It's too much money. I don't want to do it right now. Well, then see you later. You're not going to be represented. Counsel's not going to do it. Not sure. Well, we're not going to send an agreement. We're going to do a follow-up. Okay. And maybe that follow-up yields they don't want to do it. But there's going to be 3. And we're going to integrate here with some type of post-consult. Maybe it's a drip campaign, but something to encourage them to move, right? Because again, non-billable time is a problem. How we execute on our mission with non-billable time is a really important function in the automation process. So after the 3rd follow-up, that's it. If they don't want to go forward, they're done. The ideal scenario is the client comes in with a consult. They want to hire us. Well, guess what? Then a representation agreement is sent out. These are automated, by the way. Once they say yes, all of this is automated. The retainer agreement, representation agreement, and they're hired. The system has handled all of that. The staff is available to do something else. That's why the automation process works. That's why Clio has a great product. So let's automate it. The first step is we're going to take that flow chart now, the one where we had a great meeting, series of meetings, counsel made his input. All of it was put into play in words, even a narrative, and we reduced it to a workflow, a chart. So now we're automating it inside the CRM, like Grow, like these apps we've identified. It's time to make it real, and the new process then becomes a part of your software program as a workflow. Clio actually has workflows built into the software, where if you're working on a case and you want to put together a workflow on a very involved case with a lot of ancillary data or discovery or interrogatories, you can do it. And you can capture the dates, put them on a calendar, have the reminders, all of that. I see some questions in chat. I'm going to try to get that. Okay, good deal. So this software inside the workflow becomes a, becomes a template. And the template inside of Clio looks like this, where you might have the opportunity to add an appointment, a task, a form, a document, whatever you want to do. And this checklist is there for the staff now automated to let them know what's happening. These tasks have been assigned to the senior partner or the managing attorney. This is invaluable. You on your smartphone coming out of a case at court can see what's happening with one you have coming up next Tuesday or tomorrow. You can go right in and look at it and say, okay, here's where we are. It's paid, or this one's developing, or that person doesn't need a call back. My staff's got it. Makes a huge difference in your billable time. This is a dashboard shot of Grow for all of you that may not be managed users. Remember, I told you it's a detailed program. We have this data within minutes of talking to the client. We have an identifier up here for what's happening in our pipeline of clients coming in, what the agenda is currently. Do we have anything pending that needs immediate attention? And a robust database of contacts. Everyone that gets a hold of us becomes a contact. Then all active matters are here. We can see the matters. We know what's happening with the matters. And of course, any forms that are needed, documents that might be attached to that. And for all supervisory attorneys listening or attorneys listening, the reports are wonderful. We can see where we're gaining ground with automation, how much time is being spent as a metric on each new case, how long it takes from the case to start to become a client. It identifies where we can sharpen up, where we can improve. It's an incredible piece. And look what comes in here. Status is there. We have blurred out the clients, obviously, and it's integrated. It can go right to Clio Manage from here. If the client says, I'm ready to get started, boom, it's in Manage. It's an active case. The billing is sent out, and it's ready to go. We know who created it, when it was created, what's going on. It's a divorce divorce matter, one child, one girl, not concerned about location or value at this point, what type of client they are, where the source was. We know all of it. So it addresses marketing. It addresses the client dynamic. It addresses costing and forecasting for what this matter should result in. Even down here, which you can't see, unfortunately, are notes that talk about the dialogue between our coordinate and the client. We have all that available to us in a moment. You work with this on a regular, Rock. Did you want to add anything from the paralegal's perspective?
I work with it on a regular basis. Once the basic information is received, it's a lot easier to refer it out to a paralegal. And we do have attorneys that we refer out to. And when we speak to them, we can intelligently give them the lay of the land. Because a lot of times their contact with the client is time consuming. The client doesn't know how to speak to them. So we can have this all boiled down and speak to the client or the paralegal. And then we tell them, once we convert this over to Clio Manage, they can actually have access to all of the basic information, the documents, the contact information, and if there is even a history, we have it all there in one place.
Think about it as an attorney. I'm not trying to make a joke here, but what does a doctor do when they come in to do a surgery? They come in, they have their hands up, they scrub, they come in, they perform the surgery, they go out, and what's their team do? Closes it up.
He misses the point. You missed the point. You skipped the crucial aspect of it.
And that would be
They scrub up, and if you ever notice, they look on the side because they're holding the charts up so the doctor can see what they're looking for.
exactly.
That's what Clio does. That is the chart for the attorney or the paralegal to see so they know what the next step is.
And as a team, when you're working as a team, you see increased profitability, increased client satisfaction. And that's what we're after. Our industry has been given an unfair, bad name. Our industry has been given a smudge because people say things about attorneys or about the law or how unfair it is. But here's our opportunity to make a change. Here's our opportunity to give them a quality experience where they realize that they've gotten a hold of a real advocate, somebody who wants to stand in the space of the possibility of them being back to a life that doesn't have whatever this interference is, this problem is, this stressor is. And that's another reason why workplace automation is so important. Okay, so now we're refining it. We've got to continue to refine it. We're continually interviewing our team members. What's working? What's not working? Talk to me. How can we do it better? And articulate the workflow. Here, let me say that another way. Articulate the workflow. Okay? You should probably articulate the workflow. And then chart the flow so everybody can see it. We all agree. And then continue the automation process. I got to share something amazing. There is a paralegal on our team that had just the simplest idea that's made such a profound difference for our firm based in automation, okay? And the thought was, why don't we have inside of Clio a space where all of us can talk there and interact there and ask questions there? That has grown to our attorneys interacting in that space, so there's no issue around, reviewing a case before the case is released. Counsel's available to do it. That's a space where cross-pollination can occur for best practices, best ideas. What an awesome suggestion and what a huge payoff using the automated process. I mean, wow. As I look at the screen right now, I see all these people. I'm thinking, if you have the ability to consistently cross-pollinate, train, and develop at will, what's possible? And that's what automation's about, increasing what's possible. Let me open it up to some questions. Any questions on an auditory basis at this time on anything we've covered? And then I'm going to summate everything for you, but I'd like to entertain the questions. We'd like to entertain the questions.
Audio chat.
Hey, Dan, while we do that, why don't you go ahead and move on to the next slide to leave our information up. Perfect.
That's us. And I want to talk to you then to trigger the questions about what we covered and why we're doing it. I have some notes here because I want to use them. So the first step to legal workflow automation is to choose what you're going to automate. Then you must evaluate the task. Does it take a lot of time to do it? Is it efficient? Is it repetitive? Is it tedious? Is it a necessary task but non-billable? Those types of things. And of course, in our world, is it time sensitive? And then the third thing, you have to create a plan. Once you figure out that there's a number of tasks and you will that would benefit the firm to automate, then figure out what the plan is to go about getting those things into the space of automation. Take time and research automation tools. You heard a commercial for Clio. Okay, Clio's a great system, and I have blue Clio blood, right? But I'm going to let you know there are a lot of great systems out there that maybe is a better fit for what you're doing. I don't know. But I'd certainly encourage you to look at Clio. And after you've looked at the automation tools, there's so many of them. You have Lawya, you have Zapier, you have the Clio app directory. The industry is replete at this time with a lot of options. We go to step 5. This is key. This is a key metric. Develop a change management plan. We have set up an AI task force because we realize if you're not in AI to win it, you're going to be obsolete. AI is a part of the legal automation process here, the workflow automation process. So you've got to get a change management plan developed. It can be uncomfortable. It can be kind of intimidating for you and the staff. Tough through it. It'll pay off. Number 6, review and update. Do it all the time. Review and update. Talk to folks about it. You know, I want everyone to understand before we go to the final Q&A here, automation in the workplace was thrust upon us, wasn't it? Remember when COVID happened? What happened? They closed courts. Many attorneys found themselves in a place where their practice was suddenly in jeopardy. Nobody's coming through the door. And then all of a sudden it was virtual. And everyone said, you got to be virtual. So we're virtual now. Okay, the world has changed. Brick and mortar locations are not quite as full as they used to be. Folks have discovered that remote workplace is a good thing, right? Well, guess what? That's because it was thrust on us. Now that we're aware of it, why not take advantage of an intelligent approach to make your practice that much more efficient and profitable by using the steps we've outlined? Please, if there's any questions, now would be the time.
Well, one of the things we need to realize, automation can be intimidating. It can be overwhelming. What we need to remember is automation is not possible without the input from your team members.
Amen.
From those people that are interacting with the clients, they have a lot to offer. And the automation is going to be based upon the human element. The information is gathered by you and your team members so that you could sit down and put together those workflow charts, to put forth those ideas, to put forth those options. That's what the automation's about. It's not just the machinery that's doing the thinking. It's about the people who are putting the ideas into the machine.
All the hardworking paralegals and legal assistants out there, this is your opportunity to have authorship in improving a process where you work. How about questions? What kind of questions do we have? Any questions today? You telling me how much information we answered all the questions?
Actually, I do
Yeah.
have one question. You talked about a portal briefly back a couple slides ago when you were in the inner workings of Clio and the managed system, and I was curious. I'm not sure if a lot of folks know what portal means. At least when I first came aboard, I was like, "What does this word portal mean?" It sounds very fancy and kind of enigmatic.
Yeah, it's not Star Trek. I can tell you no one gets transponded and brought into our office with a portal.
I thought it was those round little windows in the ship.
Ship portal. No, it's none of that. So the portal, think of it like this. It's a partnership between you and the client in the virtual space. It's a place where the client can say, listen, I've got some documents I want to share with you. And they can then transmit them into that portal so we can have access to them jointly. They can see them and we can see them. It's a way to personalize the management process client management process in this so that they are involved, so that they have a access point to see what we're doing. It can be a space, it's a space where we share the work product. Does that look right to you? Can you read it? What do you think? Any thoughts? Do you want to add anything? It's a place where counsel can look at it with us as the paralegal and say, guys, I want you to add this, take that out, change that. It's an amazing shared workspace environment on the cloud, inside the Clio managed program, inside the matter pertaining to that client. And it is a repository for those things that have occurred so that we can recall them intelligently, quickly, and in an organized fashion for use in the litigation or for use in the client recollection for something they're wondering about now and forever, because it is preserved in the cloud and in the system. It's brilliant.
Right. So
You can't tell.
that would be
You
very
can't tell I'm.
apropos.
Yeah, you can't tell I'm a fan of that, can you? It's a brilliant means to help the client have a interactive involvement with the process, and it's something that we use extensively.
Okay, so it's 2 o'clock. I think we're out of time. I do see one question. If somebody a question about Casetext integration with Clio, did somebody want to follow up on that before we close out?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that unless you want to take that one.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Casetext integrates with Clio via the app integration screen. It's available for you to use when you're doing the job. You heard me reference to the person who asked this question. You heard me reference the workbench. Our vision when we started this was to build the work environment for our people in the virtual space. And that's why we have the proprietary name Paralegal Workbench. When the paralegal's inside the program, they can do what they need to do their way. Each paralegal might set their tools up differently, like Casetext might be integrated in a certain way for them to use. But the fact of the matter is, Casetext has a seamless interface with Clio. So when you're in a matter, you can step over here, pull up whatever information you need, bring it into what you're doing in Clio, and use those tools appropriately.
So is lawyer.
And so does Lawya. And it's a time, this is time again. Remember what we said. The tasks that are not revenue focused, but must be performed, need to be streamlined so that there's more time spent. We recapture waste on this type of activity where we're doing billable work. We're creating a work product. And that's what Casetext integration and other programs integration, DocuSign, all of them have to do with this environment. It's building your work environment effectively. That's a great question, by the way. Any other questions out there? Well, let me just say this. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be a part of this presentation. At Intrepid Paralegal, we're excited about what's happening in the industry, about technology. We're excited about being available to back people up 24/7. If you want a professional team, we're here. Intrepid Paralegal's here to back you up as an attorney, a pro se litigant. It doesn't matter. A doctor, even if it's looking for some information, a case, anything a paralegal can do. We're here, well organized and ready to go. Thank you all for taking time to participate today in the automation legal workflow discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan and Ron. Thanks for taking the time. It's very informative.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you everyone for joining us today. I'll close this out. Hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your day and a fantastic week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.